Welcome to the Gamer Recaps. Today, I'll be showing you a 2016 remake of a first-person shooter video game called Call of Duty Modern Warfare. The game sets the stage for the overarching storyline, introducing the player to the game's two main conflicts, the coup in the Middle East and the civil war in Russia. In your debut mission, you'll be heading to Credenhill, England to acquaint yourself with the game's mechanics. You'll be playing a character named Soap and you'll receive a basic weapons training from S.A.S, who will teach you how to aim, shoot, and employ various methods to take out your adversaries. Once your training is complete, you'll have the chance to meet Captain Price and his team members. They'll assign you the CQB test, a simulation of the cargo ship that you'll infiltrate in your subsequent mission. Upon passing the test and earning your spot on the team, you'll embark on your first mission as the sergeant and a member of the S.A.S squad. Under the cover of darkness and amidst a raging storm in the Bering Strait, Captain Price leads a team of S.A.S commandos onto an Estonian freighter. The team descends onto the ship's deck via ropes. The mission is to recover a suspected nuclear device, which is believed to be hidden in a crate outside one of the cargo holds. Captain Price and his team swiftly clear the ship's bridge and crew quarters before proceeding to the cargo hold, where they eliminate all the armed guards. They locate the package, which turns out to be plutonium, but the team has to evacuate quickly as reports of fast movers approaching the ship reach them. Soap manages to seize the shipping manifest, and they leave the ship just as it comes under attack from an unidentified aircraft. The team manages to extract just in time before the sinking ship claims their lives. As the manifest reveals that the intended buyer of the device is Middle Eastern military and coup d'etat leader Khalid al-Assad. To cement his revolution, Khalid al-Assad seizes control of a city and a Saudi Arabian military force. In a gruesome display of power, al-Assad publicly executes the former president of Saudi Arabia, al-Fulani, using a Desert Eagle. After Khalid al-Assad's successful coup, the S.A.S's informant, Nikolai, is compromised by al-Assad's regime. Captain Price realizes that Nikolai's life is in danger and leads a rescue mission to retrieve him. The team is inserted near Nikolai's location and quietly eliminates several guard posts. They then meet up with Russian loyalist troops, led by Sergeant Kamarov, who is hoping to free a nearby village from ultranationalist control and eliminate the threat posed by their BM-21s. While the loyalist troops assault the village, Soap provides sniper support from a nearby ridge and eliminates ultranationalist helicopter troops flanking from the left, allowing the loyalists to make greater gains in the village. Gaz becomes frustrated with Kamarov stalling and threatens him, successfully getting Nikolai's location out of him, a house at the end of the village. The S.A.S team abandons their loyalist allies and makes their way to the house to secure Nikolai. Gaz cuts the power as Soap and Price enter the house, and they successfully secure Nikolai. After securing Nikolai and leaving the village in control of the loyalists, the team is extracted via helicopter that heads for a German safe house. Reacting swiftly to the death of President Yasser al-Fulani at the hands of al-Assad, the U.S. Department of Defense decides to launch an invasion in hopes of restoring order to the area and removing al-Assad from power. In this mission, player gains control over USMC Sergeant Paul Jackson and his team of First Force Recon Marines in a raid on an Arabian coastal town to capture Khalid al-Assad. The U.S. military intelligence and Marine spotters have identified al-Assad as broadcasting propaganda from a radio station on the west side of the town. The Marines deploy from Black Hawk helicopters, facing anti-aircraft fire and RPG-7s, and fast rope down to the ground about 60 yards from the target building. They quickly breach the back door of the HQ building, but to their disappointment, al-Assad's body is not among the dead. A new report comes in, indicating that al-Assad has taken over a local television station half a kilometer east and is broadcasting from there. Under the cover of low-flying fighter jets and patrolling Blackhawks, the Marines move through the town towards the TV station. They secure a bombed-out building and parking lot before proceeding towards the side entrance of the TV station. They breach and clear the first room, encountering some resistance, and then proceed to the main broadcasting studio, where they face heavy resistance. However, once again, al-Assad is not present. In fact, the entire room is empty, and the broadcast is simply on a loop. Sergeant Paul Jackson is tasked with a new mission to defend and rescue a disabled M1A2 Abrams tank called War Pig in the middle of an enemy-controlled area known as the Bog. As they approach the tank, they are immediately ambushed by two heavily fortified machine gun positions. Jackson's squad splits up, with one group advancing on the enemy positions while the other provides cover fire. Jackson leads his team into a half-destroyed building, where they engage the enemy and successfully rescue Private Royswitch while eliminating all opposition. After the ambush, the Marines encounter a large force of OPFOR, supported by T-72 tanks on a highway overpass. Using a FGM-148 Javelin, Jackson takes out each of the enemy tanks in turn. With this threat neutralized, the squad moves quickly to defend War Pig, and together with the surviving Marines of Alpha Company in the Bog, they fend off relentless attacks from the enemy. Despite the OPFOR's use of C4 packs to attack War Pig, the Marines hold their ground and drive back the enemy forces. After rescuing War Pig, Jackson is tasked with destroying a nearby ZPU-4 anti-aircraft gun and planting a beacon to call in air support from AH-1W Super Cobras. The attack helicopters clear a building that the squad is unable to assault, finishing off the remaining OPFOR resistance and forcing the few survivors to flee. With the area secured, the squad regroups and sets up a defensive perimeter, allowing the engineers to come in and repair the damaged tank. The game's storyline shifts back to following Soap McTavish's perspective, and players pick up where the Blackout mission left off. While en route to a safe house in Germany with Nikolai, the team's helicopter is suddenly hit by a Stinger missile, causing it to crash. The impact kills the S.A.S. trooper Paulson and both pilots, leaving Price, Soap, the remaining team members, and Nikolai to navigate their way through the fields and shacks surrounding the crash site to avoid detection by a Mi-8 helicopter searching for survivors. As they attempt to make their escape, the helicopter spots them and opens fire, forcing the team to use cover to advance. The team storms a nearby barn and Soap manages to find a Stinger missile, which he uses to successfully destroy the helicopter. Once they exit the barn, the team is confronted by a large convoy of enemy forces, but they are saved by heavy fire support from an AC-130 gunship. As you take on the role of a gunner on an AC-130, you are tasked with providing air support for Captain Price and his team as they navigate their way through a village controlled by the enemy. Your primary objective is to take out enemy defenses and provide close air support to the S.A.S. team as they make their way towards the extraction point on foot and by truck. The team then makes their way to the German safe house, where they can regroup and plan their next move. Shifting back to Sergeant Paul Jackson's perspective, the mission begins in the same bog as the previous one. With War Pig now completely repaired by the engineers, the squad must advance into enemy territory. After successfully repelling a counterattack, War Pig and Lieutenant Vasquez's team proceed down the street. They clear the main street of enemies before encountering heavily guarded troops and machine guns in two buildings. The team eliminates all enemy forces and destroys an enemy tank before Vasquez and Jackson leave to take down Khalid al-Assad. Jackson provides covering fire with the Mk-19 grenade launcher mounted on a CH-46C Knight while First Force Recon carries out an attack on al-Assad's capital city. After deploying half of their team, Vasquez and his unit take over from an advanced team that is under attack. The Cobra helicopter named Deadly arrives after refueling and rearming to provide air support. After clearing the area, the Marines begin to extract from the city due to a nuclear threat. However, as they are leaving, Deadly is shot down, and Vasquez's team halts to rescue the pilot, despite command warning them that they are not in a safe distance from the potential nuclear explosion. Once the pilot is rescued, they begin to leave the city, but the nuclear bomb detonates, causing a blast wave that results in the helicopters crashing to the ground. Jackson, along with approximately 30,000 U.S. troops and remaining OPFOR soldiers, is killed in the blast. Sergeant Paul Jackson awakens from the crash, only to find himself mortally wounded. As he crawls out from the downed CH-46C Knight, the once vibrant city around him is now a wasteland, with buildings collapsing and debris scattered everywhere. Struggling to move away from the wreckage, he eventually collapses and passes away from his injuries. The screen slowly fades to white as the satellite confirms his status as killed in action. The narrative switches to Soap McTavish's perspective, as Nikolai provides intel that Khalid al-Assad might be hiding in a safe house in Azerbaijan. McTavish and his team are then dropped off at a small village where they suspect al-Assad is located. The team, aided by a Russian loyalist squad member and a helicopter, begins searching the buildings for al-Assad while battling the ultranationalist forces that are protecting him and killing innocent civilians. The team proceeds to search through 4 safe houses, each one guarded by ultranationalists. Eventually, they find al-Assad in the final building. Price eliminates al-Assad's bodyguards and then tackles al-Assad, relentlessly punching him. Subsequently, Price ties al-Assad to a chair and interrogates him, demanding to know who provided him with the bomb, while punching him repeatedly. Suddenly, a cell phone rings, and Gas picks it up and hands it to Price, who listens to the call and becomes enraged. He turns to al-Assad and shoots him with his pistol, killing him on the spot. As Gas asks about the caller's identity, Price reveals that it was Imran Zakhaev, the leader of the 4 horsemen. The game takes the player back in time to 1996, 15 years prior to the main events of the story. The British government has issued an order for an assassination, and Lieutenant Price is assigned to the mission under the command of Captain Macmillan. The 2 operatives don ghillie suits, designed to blend in with their surroundings, and set out to make their way to a hotel vantage point where they will wait for their target, Imran Zakhaev. The mission requires precision and patience, as they must remain undetected while waiting for their opportunity to take the shot. The tension builds as they wait, knowing that the slightest mistake could lead to failure and their own deaths. As the mission progresses, the player must use stealth and tactical thinking to navigate the terrain and avoid detection. Lieutenant Price and Captain Macmillan wait for 3 days on the top floor of a hotel with a Barrett .50 cal sniper rifle in hand. Their target, Imran Zakhaev, is attempting to sell uranium fuel rods to Russian ultranationalists. Price takes the shot, successfully dismembering Zakhaev's left arm. However, their cover is blown when an enemy helicopter returns fire. Price quickly shoots down the pilot, but a second helicopter locates them and opens fire on the hotel. As the top floor collapses, Price and Macmillan rappel down the side of the building and fight their way through ultranationalist forces. While attempting to lose their pursuers, they shoot down another helicopter, but it crashes towards them, injuring Macmillan's leg. Price carries him to the landing zone, but they are not safe yet. Ultranationalists retaliate, and they must hold off until the extraction chopper arrives. The extraction point is the Ferris wheel in Pripyat amusement park, where they wait for the chopper to arrive. Waves of enemies keep coming, but they manage to hold them off until the chopper comes. Finally, they are lifted to safety, but it is later revealed that Zakhaev survived the assassination attempt. Returning to Soap's perspective, the mission starts with him, Price, Gas, and Aram charging down to defend a hill while Mac provides covering fire with a machine gun. The initial plan is to place charges at Phase Line Alpha near a church and Phase Line Bravo near a tavern, and then hold out until extraction at a landing zone at the top of the hill. However, after detonating the charges at Alpha, the enemy begins using mortars to push them back. Soap then takes charge of a minigun inside a crashed Black Hawk helicopter, holding off the enemy until their helicopters deploy troops. After reaching Phase Line Bravo, Soap manually detonates the charges at the tavern using 4 detonators. The team then retreats up the hill to a barn near the village, where they fend off the enemy and allow Soap to use a Javelin missile system to take out 4 T-72 tanks. Despite this success, the evacuation helicopter pilot deems the landing zone too dangerous due to multiple SAM launchers across the mountains, and the team is given only 4 minutes to reach the previous LZ or be left behind. Soap takes the lead and guides the team down the hill. Sergeant Griggs and his Marines provide cover for the S.A.S. team as they board the helicopter. All are successfully evacuated except for Mac, who is presumed dead after providing fire support for the squad. The subsequent task begins with Soap and his team, consisting of Russian loyalists, Marines, and S.A.S. forces, advancing stealthily towards an enemy checkpoint. At Captain Price's signal, they eliminate all of the guards, change into the enemy's attire, and wait for Viktor Zakhaev to arrive. When he does, the team takes out the ultranationalists guarding him, but Viktor manages to evade them and runs away, leaving Soap and Griggs to pursue him. He leads them through a nearby town where he is aided by ultranationalist forces, and he takes refuge in a partially damaged building. After eliminating all the enemies, the team corners Viktor on the rooftop and tries to capture him, but he decides to shoot himself instead. As the mission concludes, Gaz expresses his frustration, saying that his son was our only lead. Price, however, responds correctly, saying forget it. I know the man, he won't let this go unanswered. After parachuting down to their starting point, the team realizes that Griggs is missing and has activated his emergency transponder. They follow the signal to a small village and systematically clear each building until they find and rescue Griggs. From there, they make their way to an electric tower, which Soap takes down with C4 to disable the power and allow another team to infiltrate the nuclear facility. Captain Price's team then splits up and fights their way through a group of buildings, encountering hostiles dropped in by helicopter along the way. They eventually meet up with an American sniper team and witness the launch of 2 missiles from the nuclear facility. These missiles are Imran Zakhaev's revenge for the death of his son and are headed towards the eastern United States. The ultranationalists have just launched 2 nuclear ICBMs that are now headed towards the eastern seaboard of the United States, with the potential to kill 41 million Americans. At the base, Command is coordinating with the Russian loyalists to obtain the missile abort codes, while both S.A.S. and USMC ground teams are attempting to infiltrate the launch site and enter the codes to prevent the attack. However, the teams face heavy resistance, including 3 BMP-2 light tanks and numerous guards blocking their path. Despite the obstacles, Soap and Griggs manage to destroy the tanks, while the rest of the team eliminates the guards, allowing them to enter the launch site. They then rappel down to the ICBM facility through the vents and work to disable the missiles mid-air. Captain Price and the team sneak through the air vents while the Marine forces provide security and engage the enemies below. They finally drop down to infiltrate the mission control silo, fighting their way through the heavily defended main control room. With time running out, the team must work quickly to prevent another missile launch that could burn down the entire facility. Gaz opens a large blast door, and the team eliminates the remaining enemies before using C4 to blast a hole in the wall leading to the main control room. Soap enters the abort codes, saving the lives of 41 million people. As they exit, they see Imran Zakhaev escaping in a helicopter. The team quickly makes their escape by fighting their way through the remaining enemy forces. The final mission commences with Soap, Captain Price, Gaz, and Sergeant Griggs making a hasty escape from the launch facility in a UAZ-469. 2 other UAZs, loaded with USMC and S.A.S. units, join the convoy but eventually split off from Soap and his team. The player has to face a number of armed ultranationalist trucks while speeding down a Russian motorway. The sound of a Mi-24 Hind can be heard in the distance, which eventually swoops down and engages the player. After some time, the Hind flies off and destroys a bridge, trapping Soap and the S.A.S. team. The team is then cornered by the ultranationalists and has to defend themselves on the broken bridge until a fuel tanker behind them explodes, injuring everyone. Soap loses consciousness momentarily and wakes up to find Griggs trying to pull him to safety while firing his M1911 at enemy forces, but is quickly shot in the head. Captain Price is then incapacitated, and Imran Zakhaev, along with 2 ultranationalist soldiers, move in to finish off Gaz and 2 other S.A.S. members. However, before they can execute Soap, they are distracted by a loyalist Mi-28 Havoc coming to the team's aid. During the distraction, Captain Price regains consciousness and slides Soap a fully loaded M1911, allowing him to shoot the enemy soldiers. After killing Zakhaev, the loyalists airlift Soap to safety while a Russian medic attempts to revive Captain Price. As Soap is airlifted, he passes out, and a British newscaster reports on the events in Russia, including the search for a lost cargo ship in the Bering Strait being called off. And that's where the game ends. Thanks for watching the video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, consider hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel.